What's up, college football addicts? Today we're going to talk about some potential major news that I'm starting to hear more and more whispers about. And trust me, you're going to want to stick around to the end for this one. Before we get rolling, I do want to cover some history very quickly, so we're all on the same page with this. This month is the anniversary of our very first conference realignment video that I dropped on our first channel back in 2023. Exactly a year ago, some well-placed sources informed us that 4 teams were actively in discussions behind the scenes regarding how to get out of the ACC. Those 4 teams were FSU, Clemson, Miami, and North Carolina. I released this video long before the conference realignment circus began online and long before many other grifters joined the party. It was long before any public information was out there about what FSU was preparing behind the scenes. I'll link it down in the description and above so you can check out that video if you haven't already. A few weeks after that, several more teams joined in. Virginia, Virginia Tech, and NC State. And I also broke that story well before all of the other conference realignment grifters have come along since. Now, several weeks later in May, Brett McMurphy dropped his tweet, becoming the first major media member to confirm the existence of the Magnificent Seven. This is when all the other major media picked up on the story. So what I'm trying to tell you is that we do try to keep a few receipts around here. And it's all out there for you to verify. If you care to, feel free to do your homework. The links are in the description. So the Magnificent Seven, the original 7, comprised of Florida State, Clemson, Miami, UNC, North Carolina State, Virginia, and Virginia Tech, were active in discussing and planning ways to exit the ACC. For those who don't remember, these 7 were important because they thought it represented enough votes that they could work together to dissolve the ACC and forego the exit fees. Well, it's come to my attention that things may be heating up again. Now, don't take this to the bank and cash it just yet. This is not written in permanent marker. It's not even written in erasable pen. But I am hearing rumblings that the old crew is back hanging out again and chatting. And that's some pretty epic news if you're a fan of one of those teams. Honestly, if you're just a fan of college football and you like seeing the college football drama unfold, it's pretty big news. So what's changed and why are they back talking together? Well, several things have changed since then. And again, stick around because I promise it's going to be a whole lot more logical than you realize after I cover these few things. So first was the admittance of 3 new teams. Now, I know some of you are going to jump in the comments and argue. You're going to say that, wait a minute, didn't Miami, NC State, Virginia, and Virginia Tech all vote to add SMU, Cal, and Stanford? Why would they do that if they were planning to exit? You guys have to remember that this was well before it was announced that ESPN had the unilateral ability to pull a lever on the ACC in February of 2025. This info may have been known by the old ADs, but it wasn't passed on to everyone. To some of the newer ADs in the conference, this info was certainly news to them. And I'm going to remind you guys of a very important date. June 30th is a very important date. That's the day before SMU, Cal, and Stanford become voting members. Before that date, the old rules apply. After that date, you would no longer need 7. You would then need more to try and break out of this thing. Next, you have major changes to the college football playoffs that have happened. The SEC and the Big Ten are earning way more money, 29% each, and the lowly ACC is only getting 17.1%. We've talked about that. That's more than a $10 million difference per team. This means $10 million more for revenue sharing to go along with the $50 more million annually that the SEC and Big Ten are making off their TV contracts. $60 million in difference a year is a ton to overcome, but it's going to be even more than that, and we'll get to that in just a moment. Next, you have to understand that FSU is out and Clemson is out. What is that price tag? We don't know just yet, but both are 100% leaving regardless of whether the Magnificent Seven get together or not. That ship has sailed. So what do you think is going to happen as the time takes closer to February 2025? And ESPN has to make their decision to pull the plug or to continue on without FSU and Clemson. Well, I'll tell you what's going to happen. ESPN is going to demand a deep, deep discount from the remaining ACC teams. And those teams are going to have zero leverage. They're going to be either left out on the side of the street fighting for a home, or they're going to accept the poverty rates that ESPN offers them. And no matter which of those two options they choose, they are still tied to the ACC unless they pay the exit fee. Now, I don't know how many of you guys know about negotiating, but the last thing you want to do is put yourself in a position where you have zero leverage. And this is exactly what the Mag 7 is reconsidering and why they're reconsidering. It makes complete sense. Now, the question I'd have for you is this. If you were in their shoes, would you pull the lever and control your own destiny? Maybe be able to negotiate on the free market without an exit fee, tying you to the deadweight conference without FSU and Clemson? Or would you want to tie your sails to the ACC ship with ESPN controlling every single scenario, every single card, holding every single move in their hands? It doesn't seem like a very tough decision to me. It seems like if you were one of the Mag 7, you would want to do what's best for your school long term. You would want to do what's best for your program long term. I don't necessarily know that being tied down to the ACC and hoping for the best is truly what's in the best interest of some of the Tier 2 schools that we've talked about. Florida State, Clemson have a home. You'd think Miami and North Carolina, and as one commenter mentioned, Virginia Tech, you'd think that most of these places have a home. But do you want to be tied to the ACC? The price doesn't go down for a Tier 2 school. The price that you have to pay to get out of the ACC is not going to go down because you are not Florida State, or because you handle it with more grace than Florida State handled it, or because your board of trustees don't embarrass the ACC, or because your attorneys don't call out the Swafford family. The price doesn't go down just because you play nicely. The price doesn't go down just because you have less resources. The price doesn't go down just because you're not one of the bigger brands. If you're one of the mid-level brands, Florida State's going to struggle to come up with this money. Clemson's going to struggle to come up with this money. How do you do it if you're not one of those two teams? Would it make sense for the Mag 7 to get together? Would it make sense for them to get back the gang together and dissolve the conference? I think it would. Does it benefit Florida State? Absolutely. Does it benefit Clemson? Absolutely. Does it benefit Miami, North Carolina, NC State, Virginia Tech? Yes, absolutely it benefits those teams. Louisville, does it benefit? Maybe. Does it benefit Pitt? Maybe. It seems like it benefits a lot more teams than it doesn't, and we'll see if anything comes of it. Now, again, we're not writing this in Sharpie. We're not saying this is a done deal. We're not saying that they're about to announce, but it sounds like discussions are being had. It sounds like options are being discussed. Listen, I appreciate you guys for being tuned into the channel. I appreciate you guys for following along with our conference realignment videos. I'll link those old ones down in the description. Make sure that you're subscribed if you're not already. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. I appreciate you. We'll talk to you soon here on College Football Addiction.